Do you struggle with backlit subjects? Well, here's a couple tips to help with that. The first thing I would do is if you don't have anything like a reflector or off-camera flash, is I would put your camera in spot metering mode. This way you can tell your camera's light meter that you want to focus on just a very small area of the scene, i.e. your subject, and then that way it's giving you a much more accurate reading for that subject. But be aware you're probably going to blow your background out if you have a really bright background and a really dim subject. You could shoot your subject underexposed and then just bring the shadows and darkness up on the subject in post, but make sure you're shooting in RAW and make sure that you have a really solid post-processing workflow, because you can introduce a lot of noise into that image as you start to bring up those dark shadows. The thing that I would do personally is I would either bring a reflector or an off-camera flash. You can get a cheap like 5-in-1 reflector from Adorama or BH, and really those are going to be super useful in that situation. You can kick a lot of light back into your subject. But if you don't have one of those, there's a lot of things in the world just day to day that you can use to add in some fill light. You could put your client up against a white wall, that'll kick some light back into them. Even really white concrete will reflect back up into the subject. You're still going to have to clean it up in post, but it'll kick some light back up in there. Heck, you could probably even use like a metal trash can lid. You could use a piece of like white foam core or white poster board, and that will all work as a reflector. It's not going to be ideal, but it's going to give you some light back into your subject. The most ideal thing to do though, and the way I would do it personally, is bring an off-camera flash with me. If you're trying to overpower sunlight, you're probably going to need a 600. I've shot outside with a 400 plenty of times and been successful with it, but I typically do that more at golden hour. If you're shooting midday sun, you're going to need a 600 to be able to overpower it. Or you could bring a smaller light like a 200 or a 300 if you're not trying to fight with super strong sunlight, but you still need to light your subject against a brighter background. So those are just some quick tips to help you with that. If you've got any questions about off-camera flash, just drop them in the comments and I'll help any way I can.